My name is Dave Albwald. I'm here with Natalie Zook. We are kind of, just doing some interviews with folks who are in the field of social work, but also just have a passion for God's heart for the orphan and the fatherless, and just folks that are marginalized in our society. And so we're on the heels of Speak Up Fresno, which is in January the 27th at Clovis North. And so, Natalie, maybe just start. You were sharing with me earlier that from a young age, just adoption and things like that were kind of a normal thing you were thinking about, and then maybe just share some of that journey and where you're at with even a passion for it today and how that's developed.
Yeah, I grew up always kind of knowing about adoption. It was always something that was familiar to me. Since my kindergarten class, I had a friend who was adopted, so it was just something that was always, it was normal. There was nothing strange about that. And the church I grew up in talked about adoption. We supported a specific agency, and that was just something that we did, and something that was always on my mind that maybe I would do, when I grew up, and how I would build my family. And then I have worked for an adoption agency for the past, 7 years. I had the opportunity to work with birth mothers who were considering adoption and placing their children for adoption. Mm-hmm. And I'm working more with families, mostly with international adoption.
Okay. Now, when you think of your faith and then the integration of even from a young age and then now working in the field and just being a follower of Christ and what that looks like, how do those things integrate for you? What do you feel like is God's heart and plan in all of this? Mm-hmm. And
I believe that God is so passionate about caring for orphans. It says over and over in the scriptures that He's the father to the fatherless, that He defends the fatherless, He sets the lonely in families. And to me, it's so clear that He's passionate about that. And I think as followers of Christ, that we can join in His passion is just an amazing gift. And it just feels like, it feels like there's some people like, I don't know what to do with my life, I don't know where God's calling me, and it seems like, well, find out what He's passionate about and then join in that. I just think it's a beautiful thing that we have that opportunity to do that, and that's going to look different for a lot of people, but that He cares about the orphans, and that then we can join Him in that. And that ultimately that He adopted us into His family, and that as a response to that, we can care for others and love others the way that He's loved us. And brought us into His family.
Absolutely. And so in those small ways and tangible ways, we get to model what He's already done.
Mm-hmm.
If you, had somebody come to you and say, I don't know, what is the spectrum of caring for those, those kids or folks that would kind of fall into those categories of the fatherless and those who can't speak for themselves, but maybe it's, they can't foster right now or they can't adopt right now. What's some of the different ways that people can be involved in that?
There's such a wide variety of things that you can do, and I think sometimes people get stuck on maybe adoption and like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that, but there's such a variety of things to do. And one thing that we always say at our agency is that not everybody's called to adopt, and some people we would encourage probably not to adopt. Right. But being aware of the other things, so there's adoption, there's foster care. But if that's not what you can do at this time, then they're supporting those families. So financially or tangibly, bringing them meals or offering to babysit, praying for those families, And then there's mentoring families. That's helping families who so that they don't end up in the system, that their kids don't end up in the system. So it's helping those families, sponsoring children. Mission trips overseas to work in orphanages, making yourself aware. There's so many needs out there, and so making yourself aware, and then kind of trying different things, And I think too, like if you're considering adoption or you're considering foster care, or you're just kind of looking into these things, call an adoption agency or contact a social worker, because we're more than willing to talk with you about your options and help you. It's not like if you come to an orientation,
we're going to pressure sale.
Yeah, we're not sending you home with a child. It's finding out if it's a good fit for you, and if not, then maybe we can lead you in a different direction, and help you see what is a good fit for you and where the Lord might be calling you.
Yeah, it seems like you just have a big, like a kingdom vision of like God using our hands and our feet, and then when we all in a sense, use our giftings together, that's what really makes the church, right?
Mhm.
And so that different people have different passions, different
Definitely.
giftings.